I didn't order the box because I wanted anything illegal. That's the part people always get wrong. I wasn't looking for weapons or drugs or anything grotesque. I wasn't trying to see something I couldn't unsee. I ordered it because I was bored, curious, and convinced that whatever people said about the dark web was exaggerated. I work from home, compliance audits, long days, short deadlines, endless checklists. When you stare at the same spreadsheets long enough, your brain starts looking for something, anything, that feels unscripted. That's how I found the forum. It wasn't even on the dark web at first, just a surface-level image board thread titled, "Things You Shouldn't Buy, But Will." Most of it was nonsense, people arguing, posting fake screenshots, laughing at each other. But buried a few pages deep was a link that kept getting deleted and reposted by different users. No commentary, no hype, just a single sentence copy-pasted each time. Mystery box, 1 per customer, ships once, no refunds. I clicked it. The site itself was stripped bare. Black background, white text, no images, no branding, no testimonials, just a short paragraph explaining that the contents of the box were personally relevant and that curiosity was the only requirement. There was a price listed in crypto. Not cheap, but not outrageous either. About the same as a weekend away. I hesitated for maybe 10 seconds. Then I paid. No confirmation email, no tracking number. The page refreshed and displayed a single line of text. Delivery guaranteed. That was it. For 3 days, nothing happened. I forgot about it completely. Went back to work. Answered emails. Took calls, made dinner, slept. The usual loop. On the 4th day, I found the box sitting on my doorstep when I got home from a grocery run. No knock, no courier, just a plain cardboard package, taped shut, no return address. My name was written on the top in thick black marker, spelled correctly. That should have been the first red flag. I stood there longer than I want to admit, keys still in my hand, staring at it like it might move, like it might react to me noticing it. Eventually, I brought it inside. The box was heavier than I expected, not heavy like electronics. Heavy like it was full of dense, solid objects packed tightly together. When I set it on the kitchen table, it made a dull, final sound. No rattle, no shifting. I didn't open it right away. I told myself I'd eat first, that I'd relax, that I'd make it a whole thing. But the longer it sat there, the more aware of it I became, like it was waiting. I cut the tape with a kitchen knife and folded the flaps back. Inside, everything was wrapped in plain brown paper. No padding, no labels, just layers. The first item was a wristwatch. Old, analog, scratched face. The leather strap was cracked and worn, like it had been used for years. I turned it over, expecting to see a brand name or serial number. Instead, engraved into the back, were 4 numbers. The last 4 digits of my phone number. I laughed, out loud. A sharp, nervous sound that didn't feel like it belonged to me. Okay, I thought. Cute trick. The second item was a folded piece of paper. I unfolded it carefully, already expecting something generic. A quote, a warning, a joke. It was a receipt. From a coffee shop 2 blocks from my apartment, dated 6 months earlier, itemized exactly. Same drink I always order, same add-ons, same payment method. I checked my email to make sure I hadn't somehow saved it. I hadn't. My stomach tightened. The third item was smaller, wrapped tighter than the rest. It was a key. Not a car key, not a house key, something older. The metal was dull, slightly rusted, no identifying marks. Attached to it with a thin piece of wire was a small plastic tag. Written on it, in the same black marker as the box, were 2 words: basement door. I don't have a basement. At least, I didn't think I did. I stopped unpacking after that. I put everything back into the box, closed the flaps, and pushed it away from me like that would somehow undo it. My heart was beating faster now, not from fear exactly, but from the growing sense that something had already crossed a line. That night, I dreamed of the watch. In the dream, it was still on the table, ticking loudly, each second stretching longer than the last. I tried to cover it, smash it, throw it out the window, but the sound followed me no matter where I went. When I woke up, my phone was vibrating. Unknown number. I didn't answer it. A text came through instead. Did you like the first 3? I sat there in bed, staring at the message until the screen went dark. That was when I realized something else. The box hadn't been a mystery. It had been an introduction. I didn't respond to the text. I turned my phone, face down, and told myself there was a reasonable explanation. Data leaks, stalking, someone with too much time and a talent for intimidation. It wasn't supernatural. It wasn't fate. It was a person. That thought actually made me feel better. People can be dealt with. I went to work the next morning like normal, logged in, joined calls, answered messages. But the entire time, I felt like I was being watched through my own devices. Every notification made my stomach tighten. At 11:17 a.m., my calendar updated on its own. A new event appeared. Delivery. No location, no description. Scheduled for 7:30 p.m. I hadn't added it. I checked my email. Nothing. Checked my work calendar. It was there too, synced across accounts. I deleted it. At 11:19, it came back. This time, with a note. Don't miss it. I shut my laptop and went for a walk, leaving my phone behind for the first time in years. The air outside felt sharper, colder, like I was stepping out of something sealed. I walked for nearly an hour. No music, no podcasts, just footsteps and traffic, and the occasional sound of someone else's life continuing normally. When I got back, my phone had 14 notifications, bank alerts. I hadn't lost money, but there were attempted transactions flagged and declined, online purchases I hadn't made, subscription signups, account recovery requests. Someone was trying doors. That afternoon, I opened the box again. This time, I forced myself to go through everything slowly, methodically, like evidence instead of a threat. Under the items I'd already seen were 3 more. The 4th item was a photograph, not printed professionally. Inkjet quality, slightly faded. It showed the outside of my apartment building from across the street. The angle was wrong, low, like it had been taken from inside a parked car. In the bottom corner of the photo was a timestamp. Yesterday. The 5th item was a folded piece of cardboard. Inside was a voicemail transcript, not a recording, a transcription, word for word. It was a message I'd left my sister 3 years ago, after a fight we never fully resolved. I remembered it because I'd regretted it almost immediately. I had deleted that voicemail. Seeing it written out like that made my chest feel tight. The 6th item made my hands go cold. It was another receipt. This one hadn't happened yet. A rideshare drop-off. Address listed as a road I didn't recognize. Time stamped 2 days in the future. Underneath the total, someone had written in pen, 1 way. That was when I noticed something else. Each item wasn't just personal, they were sequential, past, present, near future. I sat there for a long time, staring at the contents of the box, trying to convince myself this was some kind of elaborate scare meant to push me into engaging further. And it worked. I replied to the number. "Who is this?" The response came instantly. "Someone you already paid." My phone buzzed again before I could type. "You wanted to know what would happen." I asked how they got my information. Another message. "You gave it to me." That didn't make sense. I hadn't used my real name anywhere. I hadn't connected accounts. I'd been careful, or so I thought. I pulled up the site again, this time through the same browser I'd used originally. The page looked different now, still black, still empty, but there was a new line of text at the top. Progress, 3 of 9. I stared at the number. "What does that mean?" I typed. A pause this time. "Longer than before. It means you're still early." That night, I didn't sleep. I unplugged my router, turned off my phone, covered my laptop camera with tape even though I never used it. I sat in the dark with the box on the floor in front of me, listening to my own breathing. At 3:12 a.m., there was a knock at my door. Not loud, not urgent, just 3 slow taps. I didn't move. My phone vibrated anyway. "Wrong door," the message read. "Tomorrow." When morning came, I checked the lock twice before opening it. Nothing outside, but taped to the inside of the door frame, where I wouldn't have seen it unless I was leaving, was a small white envelope. Inside was a printed screenshot, my phone's lock screen. Time, 7:29 p.m. Battery, 12%. Under it, typed neatly, "Be ready." I didn't go to work that day. I called in sick, even though my voice sounded steady when I left the message. I stayed inside, curtains drawn, lights off, watching the clock crawl toward evening. I tried destroying the box. I tore the cardboard apart first, ripping it until the flaps shredded into useless strips. The items inside fell onto the floor. The photograph, the receipts, the transcript pages. I stomped on them, folded them, crumpled them, until they didn't look like anything meaningful anymore. Then I took the lighter from my kitchen drawer and burned what I could in the sink. The paper curled and blackened. The smell was sharp, chemical. But something strange happened when I tried to burn the photograph. The edges wouldn't catch. The flame licked at the corners, but the image didn't blacken or curl. It stayed intact, as if it were laminated in something invisible. I dropped it into the sink and turned on the tap, letting the water pool over it. The ink didn't bleed. The timestamp stayed clear. I felt stupid, panicked, out of control. At 5:46 p.m., my phone turned itself back on. I know this because I hadn't touched it since the night before. The screen lit up with a single notification. 2 hours. I grabbed my jacket and left. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay in my apartment. I walked until my legs ached, until the buildings blurred together and my thoughts started looping. Every reflection in a window felt like someone watching me from behind. At 7:12 p.m., my phone buzzed again. Wrong direction. That's when I realized something horrifying. They weren't predicting my movements. They were correcting them. Another message followed. "You don't get to skip the ending." I stopped walking. My phone buzzed again. "Turn around." I did. Standing across the street was a man I didn't recognize. He wasn't looking at me directly. He was pretending to scroll on his phone, leaning against a bus stop, posture relaxed. Normal. Too normal. As I watched, his phone screen went dark. He looked up and smiled. I ran. I didn't think. I didn't check traffic. I bolted back the way I'd come, heart slamming against my ribs, lungs burning. My phone buzzed again. "You're making this worse." I didn't slow down until I was back inside my building, slamming the door behind me and locking it hard enough to make the frame rattle. I slid down against the wall, gasping for air. At 7:29 p.m., my phone vibrated one last time. Delivery completed. A second knock came from inside my apartment, not the door, behind me. I turned slowly. There was another box on my kitchen table, smaller than the first, cleaner. No tape, no labels, just sitting there like it had always belonged. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside was a single item, my phone. Not my actual phone, another one. Same model, same case, same small crack in the corner of the screen. On the display was a video file, already playing. It was footage of me, asleep, filmed from above. The timestamp said it had been recorded the night before. I watched myself shift in bed, roll over, breathe. Then, in the corner of the frame, someone stepped into view. It was the man from the bus stop. He leaned close to the camera and whispered something I couldn't hear. The video ended. My real phone buzzed. "You see now," I backed away until I hit the counter. "This isn't real," I said out loud, to no one. Another message arrived. "You asked what would happen. This is what happens when you open the box." I realized then that the items weren't warnings, they were confirmations. Everything inside the box wasn't predicting my death, it was documenting it, in stages. And I understood something else, too. The sender wasn't waiting to kill me. They already had. I just hadn't reached that moment yet. I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor with my back against the kitchen cabinets, watching the hallway, listening for sounds that didn't belong to the building. Every creak made my pulse spike. Every distant footstep felt deliberate. At some point, close to midnight, my phone chimed again. "You're running out of time." I didn't respond. I didn't touch the phone. But the messages kept coming. You can still understand it. You can still learn why. That's what broke me. Not fear, curiosity. I opened the browser. The dark web address from the receipt was still saved in my history. I hadn't typed it. I hadn't bookmarked it. It was just there. The page loaded instantly. No CAPTCHA, no delay. The site looked different now, cleaner, brighter. The same layout, but where the listings had once been, there was only one item left. Final delivery, status. Active below, it was a live feed, a grainy black and white video. My street, my building. I watched myself on screen, sitting in the glow of my apartment window. A tiny, unaware shape. Another figure entered the frame from the edge. The man. He checked his watch. Then he looked directly into the camera, as if he knew I was watching. A chat box opened on the side of the screen. A single message appeared. "You always want to know how the trick works," I typed back before I could stop myself. "Who are you?" The response came immediately. "I'm the last part of the process. The box doesn't kill people. It introduces them to certainty." My phone buzzed. "Open your door!" I stared at the deadbolt. "Open it yourself," I typed. A pause. Then a new message appeared. "We tried that." That's when I heard the scratching. Slow, careful, metal against metal. Not loud enough to wake neighbors, not frantic, patient. The lock began to turn. I bolted for the bathroom, slamming the door behind me, shoving the hamper against it, heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. My phone buzzed again. "You picked this ending." The bathroom mirror flickered. just once. And for a split second, my reflection didn't move when I did. It smiled. The scratching stopped. Silence. Then a knock. From inside the bathroom, directly behind the mirror. I screamed and stumbled back, slipping on the tile. The mirror cracked, not shattered, cracked outward, like something was pressing from the other side. The glass bowed. A face pushed through. It was mine, but wrong. Eyes too still, skin pale and stretched, mouth opening wider than it should. It spoke with my voice. "You already saw how it ends." The mirror shattered. The lights went out, and the last thing my phone displayed before it went dark was a timestamp. 00. I don't know how long I was unconscious. When I came to, the apartment was quiet. Too quiet. No hum from the fridge. No traffic outside. No neighbors moving around above me. The bathroom was intact. No broken mirror. No cracked tiles. No sign of anything forcing its way through. For a moment, I convinced myself it had all been stress. Sleep deprivation. A panic episode spiraling out of control. Then I noticed my phone on the sink. Fully charged. Unlocked. On the screen was a single photo. Me, standing in the hallway, taken from behind. The timestamp read 10 minutes in the future. I backed away from the sink slowly, every instinct screaming at me to leave, to run, to do anything except stay where I was. Another notification appeared. The box never lies. I grabbed my keys and fled the apartment barefoot, heart pounding, breath burning in my chest. I took the stairs 2 at a time, nearly falling, crashing through the lobby doors into the cold night air. The street was empty, too empty. No cars, no pedestrians, not even the distant sound of traffic. That's when I saw him, standing under the streetlight across the road. Same coat, same posture, no rush. He raised a hand, not to wave, but to show me something. A small cardboard box, the same one, unopened, perfect. My phone buzzed one last time. You can't outrun a delivery you already accepted. I turned to run. I didn't make it far. The police report says I was found the next morning, 2 blocks from my building. No signs of struggle, no witnesses. Cause of death listed as unknown. They never found my phone. They never found the man. But the dark website is still live, one listing at a time, each box customized, each future carefully packaged. And somewhere out there, someone is hovering over a buy now button, telling themselves the same thing I did. It's just curiosity. It can't be real. And they're already too late. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. If stories like this keep you awake at night, consider subscribing to Buried Awake. New stories arrive every week. And once you start noticing the patterns, it's hard to look away.